Welcome to Mia Horror Stories. To make it easier on your eyes, this video plays against a black screen, so you can close your eyes, get comfortable, and let the story take over. But don't relax too much, the ending might just catch you off guard. Stay with me until the very last word. The first thing that went wrong was the voice, not the directions. The directions were fine. Little purple line on the screen was clean and confident, like it always is. Turn here, then there, and you'll be where you said you wanted to go. But the voice was wrong in a way that was hard to explain without sounding dramatic. It didn't mispronounce anything. It didn't glitch out or stutter. It just spoke like it was trying not to be overheard. Continue for 2 miles, it said, low and careful, as if the car had ears. I turned the volume knob up. The display jumped from 7 to 12. The voice didn't get any louder. That should have been my cue to pull over, reboot it, do the normal troubleshooting stuff. Instead, I glanced at my phone sitting face down in the cup holder, like a guilty conscience. No service. Again. And my battery was at 9% because I'd been saving my car charger for later, like I could negotiate with electricity. I told myself the GPS was old, used, temperamental. A simple explanation, the kind you can tuck your discomfort into like a receipt in your pocket. Did you hear that? Jenna asked, leaning forward from the passenger seat, as if proximity to the dashboard made her part of the decision-making process. I kept my eyes on the road. 2 lanes, wet blacktop, the kind of highway that feels like it was designed by committee and maintained by exhaustion. Oregon in February. Everything gray and green at the same time. Fir trees packed tight along the shoulder, their needles dark from rain, their trunks almost black. It's just quiet, she said, like it's whispering. It's not whispering, I said, and the way I said it made it sound like I was trying to convince myself. The windshield wipers dragged back and forth with that familiar rubbery squeak at the end of each pass. My heater had this faint smell dust and warm plastic, like the first time you turn it on after a long summer. Jenna had a takeout coffee between her knees. Every so often, it sloshed a little and the lid clicked. We were 40 minutes outside Bend, headed toward a cabin that my coworker swore was off-grid in a cute way, which I'd already decided meant you will not be able to call anyone if you slice your finger open making dinner. It was supposed to be a simple weekend. 2 days. No inbox. No calendar invites. A reset with a person I liked a lot. And maybe, if I was honest, a small test. Could I stop white-knuckling every quiet moment long enough to actually enjoy it? I'd bought the GPS that morning because my phone had been doing that thing where it pretends to have reception. And then, when you need it, it gives you a cheerful little SOS only, like a joke. I stopped at a pawn shop on the edge of town while Jenna ran into a grocery store for snacks and drinks. The GPS was in a glass case between some old cordless drills and a set of golf clubs missing a club. The guy behind the counter said, "This one's cheap because it's old, but it works. You'll be fine." He said it the way people say you'll be fine when they don't actually know if you'll be fine. Now it sat suction, cupped to my windshield, a matte black rectangle with scratches on the frame and someone's thumbprint permanently ghosted into the screen. The voice said, "Prepare to exit in 1 mile." "Okay," Jenna said, already brightening. "So we're close." "We're not close," I said, and then softened it because I heard myself. "We're getting there." She gave me a look. It wasn't offended. It was the look of someone who's learned the shape of your stress and knows where not to press. "You're doing the jaw thing," she said. "I'm not doing the jaw thing." "You are," I unclenched without meaning to. My teeth ached in that dull way they do when you've been bracing for something all day and didn't notice. Jenna looked out her window at the trees whipping past. "It's pretty out here, like the kind of pretty where you could get lost." "Thanks," I said. "That's exactly the vibe I was hoping for." She laughed, short and warm. It eased something in my chest. For a moment, the road was just a road. The wipers squeaked. The tires hissed on wet asphalt. A logging truck passed us going the other way, spraying mist. Normal. Then the GPS spoke again. "Do not take the first paved road." I blinked. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Jenna turned toward the device. "What?" The screen showed a simple map with our route, the purple line curving toward an upcoming exit. Beneath it, the standard text, "Exit right in 0.8 miles. No warning. No little triangle icon. Nothing that would suggest the device had just delivered a sentence like a person. "It didn't say that," I said automatically, even as I replayed it in my head. The wording, the "do not" way it sounded like a rule, not an instruction. Jenna's eyebrows were up. She wasn't smiling now. "It definitely did. I heard it." I glanced at the volume. Still 12. I tapped it down to 11, then back up. The voice didn't change. "Maybe it's some feature," Jenna offered. "Like those GPS things that warn you about toll roads." "Toll roads don't start with 'do not,'" I said. "They start with 'avoid' or 'recalculating.'" I reached over and pressed the screen. It didn't respond at first. I pressed again, harder. The map zoomed in with a jerky animation. My route was still there. The exit was still there. But the device felt sluggish, like it was thinking. A small notification bar at the top flickered too fast to read and then disappeared. Jenna leaned in. I could smell her coffee, bitter and sweet. Maybe it's the previous owner's settings, like some custom alert. "That's not how GPS works," I said, but the truth was, I didn't know how this particular one worked. Never used a standalone unit outside of rental cars. The exit sign appeared ahead through the rain, a green rectangle with white lettering that glowed under our headlights. "Junction 15, Service Road, no through traffic," Jenna read it out loud. "Service Road, no through traffic. That's not great." "I'm sure it's fine," I said, and the fact that I said it with the same cadence as the pawn shop guy did not escape me. The GPS spoke again. "Exit now." This time, it sounded normal, flat, confident, loud enough to hear. I felt my shoulders drop an inch. "See, that's normal." Jenna didn't look convinced. Her fingers traced the seam of her coffee cup lid. "But what about the other thing?" I forced a laugh that didn't land. "It's an old device. It probably has some weird recorded warning, like a voice memo or a bug." "Voice memo," she repeated, tasting the words. Like someone recorded, "Do not take the first paved road," into their GPS. I didn't answer because the idea made my scalp itch. The exit lane split off to the right. The line of reflective markers guided it like breadcrumbs. I signaled, moved over, and felt the car drift into the lane with that small, satisfying thump as the tires crossed the groove. The service road curved away from the highway into the trees. The sound changed immediately, less open air, more enclosure. The highway's rush faded behind us, replaced by the dull patter of rain on leaves and the steady hum of our engine. The sign "No Through Traffic" felt less like a statement and more like a dare. Up ahead, a second sign loomed, authorized vehicles only. Under it, a narrower paved road cut off to the right, fresh asphalt, bright paint, almost too clean. Straight, inviting, like a shortcut drawn by someone who wanted you to take it. The GPS screen showed two options, our purple line continuing straight on the service road, and a faint gray road branching right. The gray road didn't have a label. It was just there. The GPS didn't say anything. Jenna stared at the right-hand road. That looks new. It does, I agreed. My stomach had that light, hollow feeling, the one that shows up right before you realize you've made a decision you can't easily undo. I glanced back at the main service road, older pavement, patched and cracked, the kind with uneven edges that tries to throw gravel at your undercarriage. Then I looked at the clean branch to the right again. Jenna's voice was careful. What does the cabin address say? I tapped the printed directions my coworker had texted me, scribbled on a sticky note, now soft from my sweaty palm. It was an address and a name for the rental. No mention of any special roads. No warnings. Nothing helpful. The GPS finally spoke, and when it did, it was quiet again, almost private. Choose. I felt Jenna's eyes on me. I felt the rain, the dark trees pressing in, the clean road on the right like an easy answer, the worn road ahead like the honest one. And in that half second, with my tires on wet asphalt and my phone useless and my pride louder than it should have been, I had to decide which kind of person I was going to be. The one who took the obvious path, or the one who listened to a device that wasn't supposed to talk like that. I took the right-hand road. I wish I could dress that up with some noble reason, saving time, trusting the tech, avoiding potholes. But the truth is simpler and worse. The new pavement felt like control. Smooth, predictable. A clean line through the mess. Jenna didn't say anything as I turned the wheel. The car eased onto the branch road with a soft thud as the tires crossed the seam. The sound of the highway vanished completely, like someone closing a door behind us. The trees pressed in almost immediately. Fir and pine, dense enough that the daylight thinned into a greenish gloom. The road was narrow, but well marked, reflective paint still bright. No cracks, no weeds poking through. It smelled faintly like tar and wet earth. The GPS said nothing. We drove for maybe 30 seconds before Jenna spoke. So, we're doing this. We're doing this, I said, trying for casual. My jaw tightened anyway. The speed limit sign came up fast, 15 mph. Below it, smaller text, local traffic only. That's specific, Jenna said. I slowed. The engine dropped to a low, steady hum. Rain tapped on the roof, softer here, filtered through branches. The wipers squeaked. Everything sounded louder when the car wasn't moving as fast. The GPS screen still showed our route, but the purple line was thinner now, like it had lost confidence. The gray road we were on still wasn't labeled. The cabin icon, our destination, sat off to the right, a few miles away, connected by a spider web of thin lines that hadn't been there before. Jenna leaned closer. Did it always show all those little roads? No, I said, I don't think so. The device lagged when I tapped it. A beat, two. Then the map snapped back to center, the spiderweb gone. Just our thin purple line again. Okay, Jenna said, too evenly. So what's the plan if this is like a maintenance road or a private thing? We'll turn around, I said. If it looks wrong. She looked out her window. The trees were closer on her side, their trunks sliding past slow enough to count the knots. It already kind of looks wrong. The GPS spoke. Maintain speed, it said. Quiet, careful. I almost laughed. It's bossy. Jenna didn't smile. It sounds like it's worried. That was when the first problem showed up. Not dramatic, not cinematic. Just a dull, mechanical thump from the rear, followed by a vibration that crawled up through the steering wheel and into my hands. I eased off the gas. The car pulled slightly to the right. No, I said. No. I guided us to the shoulder, which was barely a shoulder, just a strip of compacted dirt and pine needles, and stopped. The engine ticked as it cooled. Rain whispered through leaves. Somewhere far off, something metallic clanged once, then stopped. Jenna was already unbuckling. Flat, feels like it. I opened my door, and the cold slapped me awake. The smell out here was stronger sap, wet bark, the sharp chemical tang of fresh asphalt. The rear right tire was visibly low, the rubber bulging where it met the ground. A roofing nail glinted near the tread, its head slick with rain. You've got to be kidding me, Jenna said. I crouched, fingers numb as I touched the tire. It hissed softly, a sound like someone exhaling through their teeth. I can change it, I said, too quickly. I've done it before. You hate changing tires, Jenna said. I don't hate it. You absolutely hate it. You get all intense. She wasn't wrong. Something about being exposed on the side of the road, relying on a jack and my own competence, flipped a switch in me. It reminded me how thin the line was between handled and helpless. I've got this, I said, already popping the trunk. The spare was there. So was the jack. So was the tire iron, heavy and cold in my hands. The ground was uneven, sloping slightly toward the trees. Okay, Jenna said, practical mode engaged. Let me look up a tutorial just to be safe. She pulled out her phone. Her screen lit her face blue. Then she frowned. No service. Try again, I said. She did. Same result. She glanced at my phone in the cup holder. Yours, 9%, I said. And no service. We stood there for a moment, rain soaking into my jacket, the tire still whispering its slow death. The road was quiet in a way that felt intentional. No birds, no distant engines, just us and the sound of water and that occasional metallic clank, like someone dropping a tool far away. I'll start, I said. The jack sank into the soft dirt when I tried to set it. I repositioned it, found a flatter spot, wedged a piece of wood underneath from a fallen branch. My hands were shaking, not from the cold. The GPS chimed. Time remaining, 8 minutes. I froze. 8 minutes until what? Jenna stared at the device. It's not counting down. It just says that. Time remaining, I repeated. My mouth felt dry. I tapped the screen. Lag. The map flickered. Then a small text box appeared at the bottom, white letters on gray. Rule 2, do not stop on the road. That wasn't there before, Jenna said. I know. I looked around. The shoulder we were on didn't feel like the road, but the wording was vague enough to make my skin prickle. Rain darkened the dirt beneath my knees. The tire hissed louder now. Evan, Jenna said quietly, what if it means this road? I don't care what it means, I said. I'm not driving on a flat. The GPS said nothing. The text box vanished. I cranked the jack. The metal groaned. The car lifted an inch, 2. My arms burned. I focused on the motion, the mechanics, control. Do the steps. Don't think. A low rumble rolled through the ground, subtle enough that I might have imagined it if Jenna hadn't looked up sharply. Did you feel that? Before I could answer, headlights flared through the trees ahead. White, then amber. A large vehicle emerged around a gentle curve, utility truck maybe, with a rack on top and mud splashed up the sides. It slowed when it saw us. Relief hit me so hard my knees wobbled. The truck stopped a few yards away. The engine idled deep and uneven. The driver's window rolled down halfway. A man leaned out. Late 40s maybe, beard rain-darkened, a reflective vest over a jacket. He took in the scene, the flat, the jack, the GPS glowing faintly inside the car. "You can't stop here," he said, not angry, just stating a rule. "I've got a flat," I said. "We'll be quick." He shook his head. "This road's not for that." Jenna stepped closer to me. "We didn't see any," he cut her off with a raised hand. "You need to move the vehicle now." "I can't," I said. The tires shredded. His eyes flicked to the nail, then back to me. "That's unfortunate." Behind him, the truck's hazard lights clicked on, the sound loud in the quiet. Click, click. The GPS spoke, barely audible over the rain. "Do not accept assistance." Jenna's fingers dug into my sleeve. "Evan," the man leaned farther out the window, lowering his voice. "You're on a restricted access road. There's equipment moving through here. You're putting yourselves at risk." "Then help us," I said, "or let us finish." He looked past us, down the road we'd come from, then back the way he'd arrived. His jaw worked. "I can call it in," he said, "but that'll take time." "How much time?" Jenna asked. He hesitated. "More than you have." The GPS screen flashed again. "Time remaining 5 minutes." My chest tightened. The jack wobbled slightly in the soft ground. "Evan," Jenna said, low and urgent. "What if we just trust him? Trust." The words scraped against something old in me. The part that wanted to fix things myself, to not owe anyone, to not hand over control. The man watched my face, like he could see the argument playing out. Behind him, the road curved away into deeper forest. Somewhere beyond the trees, that metallic clank sounded again. Closer this time. 5 minutes until what? I didn't know. But I knew I was running out of time to decide. The man in the truck checked his watch. 4 minutes, he said, like he was doing us a favor by rounding down. "You can't stay here." Jenna looked at me. Rain beaded on her eyelashes. Her jaw was set, the way it got when she was trying not to push too hard. "Evan, please." The GPS screen glowed from inside the car, dim but visible through the windshield. "Time remaining 4 minutes." "Help me finish the tire," I said to the man. "2 people, it'll go faster." He shook his head. "Policy, I can't get out. And you really shouldn't be jacking the car here anyway." "Then what are we supposed to do?" Jenna asked. He exhaled through his nose, annoyed now. "There's a turnout half a mile back. Limp it there." "With a flat," I said. "That'll destroy the rim." He shrugged. "Better than what's coming through here." That phrasing landed badly. "What's coming?" I asked. He didn't answer directly. He leaned farther out the window and lowered his voice. "Look, this is an active access road. You're not authorized. I already radioed it in. You don't want to be here when the gate closes." "Gate," Jenna said. He straightened. 3 minutes. The truck's hazard lights clicked louder, echoing off the trees. Click, click, click. The GPS spoke, soft and close. "Proceed forward, do not reverse." I felt something inside me harden. "It's telling us what to do now." Jenna stared at the screen. "It told you not to accept help. And now it's telling you to drive on a flat." "That doesn't make sense," she added quickly. "None of this does." I crouched back down and grabbed the tire iron. If I can just get it off, the jack slipped. Not catastrophically. Just enough to make the car drop a fraction of an inch with a dull, ugly thunk. Pain shot up my wrist as the tire iron wrenched sideways. "Shit," I hissed. Jenna was beside me instantly. "Are you okay?" "My wrist," I said. I flexed it. Sharp, but not broken, already swelling. I shook it out and regretted it. The man in the truck swore under his breath. "That's exactly why you shouldn't be doing this here." The GPS screen flickered. Rule 3, do not exit the vehicle after warning. Jenna's voice dropped. "Evan, it just added another rule." I pushed myself up, mud streaking my jeans. "This thing is malfunctioning." "Then why is it so specific?" she shot back. The man tapped something on his radio. Static answered. He frowned. "Signal's bad." "Of course it is," Jenna muttered. A deep vibration rolled through the ground again, stronger this time. Leaves trembled. Somewhere down the road ahead, an engine revved, heavy, industrial. It wasn't close enough to see, but it was close enough to feel. Anne's shoulders tensed. "You need to move, now." I looked at the road ahead. It curved left, disappearing into a thicker stand of trees. The pavement sloped slightly downward, away from us. Behind us, the road ran straight for maybe a quarter mile before bending out of sight, back toward the highway. Half a mile to the turnout meant driving backward on a flat, or turning around somehow on a road barely wider than a single lane. "Can you tow us?" Jenna asked. He shook his head again. "Not authorized. I can escort you if you move under your own power." "Escort us where?" I asked. "Off this road." The GPS chimed, louder than before. "Unauthorized escort detected." The man froze. "Did that thing just—" I slammed the driver's door open. "Enough, we're driving." Jenna grabbed my arm. "Evan, wait." "I can't fix the tire," I said. "And I'm not staying here." I got in, started the engine. The car shuddered as I eased forward, the ruined tire thumping with every rotation. It felt wrong, like limping on a broken ankle. The man pulled his truck ahead of us, hazard lights still clicking, guiding us down the road. I followed at a crawl, hands tight on the wheel. Every sound felt amplified: the slap of rubber, the engine's strain, the rain ticking on the hood. The GPS stayed silent. For a minute, it almost felt like relief. The road dipped, then rose. On the right, the forest opened briefly to reveal a fenced-off clearing with stacked pipes and a portable generator humming steadily. Floodlights mounted on poles cast harsh white cones through the rain, making everything beyond them look darker by contrast. "That's the equipment," Jenna said quietly. That's what he meant. A shape moved near the fence. My heart jumped. "Stop," Jenna said. I did. The car lurched. Pain flared in my wrist again. The shape resolved into a deer, its coat slick and dark, head low as it slipped through a gap in the trees and vanished on the other side. The sudden normalcy left me shaky. "Okay," I breathed. "Okay." The man's truck slowed, then stopped ahead of us. He got out this time, rain soaking his vest. He waved us forward. "There's a swing gate just ahead," he said through my open window. "Once we pass it, you're clear." "What about the turnout?" Jenna asked. "Past the gate." The GPS screen lit up. Time remaining 1 minute. My pulse spiked. "What happens at 0?" The device didn't answer. We rolled forward. The gate came into view, a heavy steel arm spanning the road, currently raised, attached to a control box on the left. Yellow warning lights blinked lazily. The man jogged ahead and keyed something into the box. The lights changed rhythm, blinking faster. "Go, go," he shouted. "I've got it." As we passed beneath the raised arm, a loud buzzer sounded. The gate began to descend. The man dove back toward his truck. I slammed the gas without thinking. The flat tire screamed. The car lurched forward just as the gate slammed down behind us with a metallic crash that echoed through the trees. Silence followed, thick, heavy. The man's truck was on the other side now. He stared at the gate, then at us, rain plastering his beard to his face. He raised his hands, palms out, a helpless gesture. "Hey," Jenna shouted. "Open it." He shook his head. "It's automatic. I can't override it once it's closed." Behind us, the gate lights glowed steady red. The GPS spoke. "Access confirmed." My stomach dropped. "Evan," Jenna said. "We're alone now." I looked ahead. The road stretched on, narrower than before, swallowed by trees and rain. No shoulder, no place to turn around. With the gate down and the tire shredded, going back wasn't an option anymore. Whatever this road was, we were committed to it. And the GPS knew it. The road changed after the gate. Not in some mystical way. In a civil engineering way. The paint lines vanished. The pavement narrowed until it felt like driving down the center of a hallway. The trees leaned closer, branches hanging low, dripping steadily onto the windshield like a slow leak. I kept the speed under 15 because the flat wouldn't let me forget itself. Thump, thump, thump. Every rotation sounded like another nail being driven in. Jenna had both hands on the dash, not gripping, just bracing. Her coffee was gone. The cup sat in the footwell like evidence. "Tell me we're not just going deeper into a work site," she said. "I don't know," I said. My voice came out thin. The GPS glowed. No route line now, just a gray background and our little arrow crawling forward like an insect. Then the screen refreshed. A black bar appeared at the bottom with white text. Rule 4. If you see lights behind you, do not pull over. Jenna stared at it. "Evan, I see it." My wrist throbbed where I'd strained it. Every time I adjusted the wheel, it reminded me. I kept one hand lower, awkward, using my left more than I should. The forest opened on the right into a gravel lot big enough for a dozen vehicles. Floodlights on tall poles cast sharp, rectangular shadows. Beyond the lot were shipping containers, a portable office trailer, and a chain-link fence topped with barbed wire. Real. Ordinary. Wrong only in the way it was placed out here, so deep you couldn't imagine hauling it in without a plan. At the far end of the lot was a second gate, thicker than the first. A sliding steel barrier, a keypad post, 2 cameras mounted like little black eyes, and parked near the fence, half hidden behind a container, was a white SUV with a company logo on the door I couldn't read through the rain. We rolled closer and the GPS chimed. "Stop at the post," it said, in its normal voice, like a rental car GPS again. I slowed until the car crawled. The SUV's interior light flicked on, then off. That could have been coincidence. A door opening and closing. Someone shifting. Jenna leaned toward the window. "Evan, there's someone in there." "Could be security," I said, and immediately hated how hopeful it sounded. The keypad post stood on a small concrete pad, a reader, a camera with a blinking red dot. No signage except a faded placard, authorized access only. Violators subject to prosecution. I stopped, aligning my window with the post. The GPS screen flashed once. Access window. Jenna made a sharp sound. 2 minutes of what? I tapped the screen hard. Nothing. I tapped again. Lag. Then the map zoomed in on a blank grid with a single thin line labeled only with numbers. RD 771. "I've never heard of that," I muttered. Behind us, far back down the road, a light appeared between the trees. One light became 2. Headlights, wide apart, bobbing slightly on the uneven road. Jenna's voice went tight. Lights behind us. I felt my stomach turn over. Rule 4. If you see lights behind you, do not pull over. We can't go forward, she said. The gate's closed. We can't go back, I said. We're on a flat. The headlights grew brighter fast, the vehicle moving much faster than 15. The GPS chimed again, insistent. Enter code. There's no code, Jenna snapped, eyes darting from the keypad to the approaching lights. We bought a stupid pawn shop GPS, Evan. It doesn't give out gate codes. A horn blared behind us, one hard, impatient blast that cut through the rain and made my ribs jump. Then, through my rearview mirror, I saw the shape, not a normal utility truck, a dark pickup with a grill guard and roof lights, the kind of setup you see on private security trucks and guys who think they're ranch law. The lights weren't flashing blue and red. They were just bright, white, aggressive. The truck slowed as it got close, then stopped behind us, so near I could see rain streaming down its hood. The driver's door opened. A man got out. He wore a rain jacket and a brimmed cap pulled low. He walked toward us with a purposeful, unhurried stride, like he owned the road. In his hand was a flashlight, angled down, beam bouncing with each step. Jenna whispered, "Lock the doors." I did. The locks clicked like a confession. The man reached my window and rapped on it with his knuckles. Not hard, controlled. I cracked the window an inch. Cold air slid in, the smell of wet gravel and diesel. "What are you doing in here?" he asked. His voice was flat, professional, not friendly. "This is restricted." "My tire," I started. He cut me off. "Turn around." "I can't," I said. "I've got a flat." He leaned closer, peering into the car. His eyes flicked to the GPS on the windshield. The faint glow reflected on his cheek. Something changed in his face, just a tightening at the corners of his mouth. "Where'd you get that unit?" he asked. Jenna shifted. "A pawn shop in Bend, this morning." The man's gaze stayed on the GPS. "Shut it off." I hesitated. The device's black bar still showed. Access window, 000112 counting down. The keypad post waited. The sliding gate was a solid wall. The man tapped the glass again, harder. Now, my instinct, my stupid flaw, was to do what the loudest authority told me to do. To de-escalate, to comply. That's how you avoid trouble. I remembered the earlier warning. Do not accept assistance. And then proceed forward. Do not reverse. And now enter code. The truck behind us idled, low and steady, like a big animal. The man's flashlight beam slid over my hands on the wheel, my face, Jenna's. Jenna's voice was low, aimed at me. "Evan, I don't like him." "I'm calling it in," the man said, reaching for something on his belt. "If you don't shut that off, the GPS chirped, loud enough to make all three of us react. Rule 5. If they ask about the unit, do not answer. Jenna's eyes went wide. "Evan." The man's head snapped toward the speaker. His face hardened, and for the first time he looked angry. Not because we were trespassing, because the device had spoken. He yanked the door handle. Locked. He tried again, harder, then stepped back, shining the flashlight in. "Open the door." I swallowed. My mouth tasted metallic. He leaned down, eyes level with mine through the glass. "You don't want to make this worse." Behind him, the white SUV's driver's side door opened. Another figure stepped out, smaller, moving cautiously, hood up. They stood near the fence, watching. Jenna whispered, "There's someone else." The GPS voice came again, quiet, careful, like the first time. Now, I didn't think. I moved. I slammed my foot on the gas. The flat tire shrieked. The rim sparked as it bit the wet gravel edge near the concrete pad. The car lurched forward, not fast, but sudden enough. The man stumbled back, swearing, his flashlight beam whipping wildly across the windshield. We shot past the keypad post by a few feet, and in that same instant, the gate's warning lights flicked from steady red to blinking amber. A buzzer sounded. The steel barrier began to slide open, slow and heavy. "Evan," Jenna yelled. "We're going through." "We're going through," I said, voice breaking on the words. The man recovered and sprinted for his truck. I saw him in the mirror, reaching for the door handle, climbing in. The engine revved. The opening in the gate was only halfway wide when we reached it. I aimed for the gap anyway, heart hammering. The car bounced over the track. Metal scraped, an awful grinding scream as the passenger side mirror clipped the edge. Plastic exploded. The mirror dangled, useless. We were through. The gate began closing immediately behind us, the buzzer screaming like a warning in a parking garage. The pickup surged forward, trying to follow, but the narrowing gap wasn't forgiving. The truck's grille hit the gate edge with a violent clang. The sound was enormous, echoing off the containers and into the trees. The gate shuddered but kept moving, steel grinding against steel. The pickup backed up a foot, then rammed again. Another clang, another shudder, but the gate was thicker than his impatience. It slid shut with a final metallic slam. Silence followed, except for the rain and my engine and the ragged sound of Jenna breathing. I didn't stop. Rule 4, do not pull over. I kept going until the lot and its floodlights were far behind, until the road narrowed again and the forest swallowed us whole. Only then did I ease off the gas, realizing my hands were shaking so hard I couldn't keep the wheel steady. Jenna wiped her face with the sleeve of her jacket. We just ran a gate. We didn't have a choice, I said, but it came out like a plea. The GPS screen went dark for a second, then lit back up with a simple arrow and one line of text. Route updated. Continue. My throat tightened. How does it know these gates? How does it know any of this? Jenna stared ahead into the rain, her voice smaller now. Evan, what if this road isn't supposed to exist because it's not public? I flexed my wrist and pain flared. My right hand was swelling, fingers stiff. The missing mirror let cold air whistle in through a cracked seal. The flat tire had gotten worse, each thump heavier, the rim grinding every few rotations. We weren't being chased now, not past the gate, but the cost was sitting in the car with us. Damaged vehicle, injured wrist, and the sick understanding that we'd crossed into something managed, watched, kept off normal maps on purpose. And we still had to get out. We didn't make it far on the rim. The road kept narrowing, the rain kept coming, and the flat kept getting louder until the thump became a grinding scrape that I could feel in my teeth. Sparks weren't dramatic in the rain, just brief orange flashes under the passenger side when the rim kissed stone. Jenna flinched every time, like the car was hurting. Stop, she said finally. Not a suggestion. Evan, stop. We're going to flip this thing. I didn't want to stop. Rule 4 was still stamped behind my eyes. If you see lights behind you, do not pull over. But there were no lights now, just wet darkness, and the GPS arrow insisting we continue, as if we weren't leaving pieces of the car behind us. I eased off the gas and rolled onto the only place that looked remotely stable, a widened patch of gravel where a culvert ran under the road. It wasn't a turnout, not really, more like where a maintenance truck could tuck in without sinking. The car shuddered as I stopped. Silence dropped in, the kind you notice because your body has been bracing against noise. The engine ticked. Rain tapped the roof. Jenna's breath came out in short bursts. Okay, we're not dead. My hands were still on the wheel, white-knuckled. My wrist was swollen enough that my fingers felt thick and uncooperative. I forced myself to look in the mirror, what was left of it. The passenger side mirror hung by its wire, rain dripping off it. Behind us, the road was a dark ribbon swallowed by trees. Nothing moved. No headlights. Jenna reached for my phone. We have to call someone. It's at 9%, I said, but I handed it over anyway because it was something to do other than listen to my heart. She plugged it into the car charger. The battery icon flickered like it might refuse. Then it climbed to 10%, painfully slow. No service, she said. She tried again. Same. I stared at the GPS. It sat there like an innocent appliance, a dumb piece of plastic and circuit boards that had just guided us through a locked gate like it owned the place. The screen still showed the arrow and one line, route updated, continue. My throat felt tight. Turn it off, Jenna said. I should have turned it off back there, I murmured, but my fingers didn't move. Jenna watched me. Evan. I reached up with my good hand and pressed the power button. The screen went black. For a moment, I felt relief so sharp it was almost dizzying, like cutting a string that had been pulling on my spine. Then the GPS powered back on by itself. The logo flashed. The map loaded. The arrow returned. Jenna's voice dropped. Did you? I turned it off, I said too quickly. I pressed the button again, harder, off, black. 3 seconds later, it rebooted again. We stared at it like it was a mouse that kept finding its way back into the kitchen. Unplug it, Jenna said. It's not plugged in. She made a frustrated sound and leaned over, ripping the suction cup loose from the windshield. The device fell into my lap with a plastic clack. She popped the back cover with her thumbnail, fingers shaking. The battery slid out. The GPS screen stayed lit. We both froze. Jenna held the battery between her fingers like it was hot. That's not possible. It's got an internal capacitor, I said immediately, because my brain needed an explanation. Some devices hold charge for a bit. Jenna's eyes were glossy with anger and fear. A bit, not, she gestured at the glowing screen. Not this. I didn't answer. I couldn't, because saying I don't know felt like handing the situation more power. A distant engine noise drifted through the trees. Low, not close enough to identify, but close enough to make Jenna's head snap up. Lights, she whispered. I turned and looked behind us. Nothing, just rain and darkness and the wet gleam of the road. The sound faded, or maybe it moved away. To tell, misdirection my brain offered, a generator, a truck on a different access road, wind making the trees sound like an engine. But my pulse didn't care. We're not staying here, Jenna said. We'll walk if we have to. My mouth went dry. In the rain, in the dark. We have a headlamp in the trunk, she said. We have jackets. We have, her voice caught, then steadied. We have each other. That should have been cheesy. It was. It was the only real thing in a place that was suddenly full of rules. I got out carefully, cradling my wrist. The cold hit harder now. The forest smelled like wet needles and diesel residue. The rain made the gravel slick, and I had to plant my feet wide to keep from slipping. We grabbed what we could. Jenna's headlamp, our phones, the first aid kit. I wrapped my wrist in an elastic bandage, with Jenna guiding my fingers because they didn't want to cooperate. The pain was deep and stubborn, the kind that doesn't spike so much as it threatens to become permanent. We left the car. The decision felt like tearing a page out of a book. Final. Jenna wanted to bring the GPS. I surprised both of us by shaking my head hard. No, I said, leave it. She stared at me. What if we need it? I glanced at the glowing screen inside the car, still lit, still arrowing forward. That's not helping. That's something else. Jenna didn't argue. She shut the door gently, like the GPS might hear. We walked forward because backward meant the gate and the compound and men who had tried to grab our door handles. Forward meant unknown, which is a terrible thing to choose. But sometimes it's the only direction left. The road led us downhill, curving along a slope. On the left, a steep embankment rose into dense firs. On the right, the ground fell away toward a creek I could hear before I saw water rushing under rocks, constant and indifferent. After 20 minutes, we found what the GPS had never bothered to mention: a small bridge with a yellow weight limit sign, and beyond it, a gravel spur leading to a cluster of buildings, maintenance sheds, maybe, and a trailer with light spilling through blinds. A generator hummed outside, the sound that had been haunting the forest. Explainable, real. Jenna nearly cried from relief. We approached slowly, calling out, "Hello," because that's what you do when you're trying to be a normal person in a situation that isn't normal. A woman stepped out onto the trailer's tiny porch, squinting into the rain, one hand shielding a flashlight. "Whoa," she said. "What the hell? You can't be out here." Her voice had the bluntness of someone who said it before. She didn't come closer until she saw my wrist and the missing mirror wire I'd carried without realizing. Then her posture changed, still cautious, but human. "Are you hurt?" she asked. "My wrist," I said, "and our car flat tire. We got turned around." She studied us for a long beat. Then she said, "Come inside. I'm calling it in." Inside, the trailer smelled like microwaved soup and damp boots. A radio crackled on the counter. She introduced herself as Marla Dean, 41, female, and she worked maintenance coordination for a contractor that handled infrastructure up here. She didn't use the words restricted road like a threat. She used them like a fact. "There's an active site and a security team," she said, dialing a number on a landline. "If they found you, they'd..." She stopped herself, glanced at Jenna, then continued. "They'd make it messy." Jenna sat on a folding chair, shaking with delayed adrenaline. "We saw them," she said. "A man in a pickup. He tried to..." Marla's face tightened. "Was it a black truck with roof lights?" Jenna nodded. Marla didn't look surprised. She looked tired. She got us blankets, poured us lukewarm coffee, and called in what sounded like a sanitized version of events. 2 civilians, vehicle disabled, possible injury. She didn't mention the GPS. We didn't either. An hour later, a county deputy arrived in a marked SUV. Real badges, real paperwork. His name was Deputy Kellen Morris, 38, male, and his patience was practiced. He took our statements in a tone that said he'd heard worse, and also that he'd already decided what this was: tourists who wandered somewhere they shouldn't. "How'd you get past the gate?" he asked. I hesitated. My tongue felt thick. Jenna's hand found my knee. "We followed the road," Jenna said carefully. "There was a man. He told us to move. We went through when it opened." The deputy's pen paused. "You didn't have a code?" "No," I said. "It just opened." He looked at me for a long moment. "Gates do just open." Marla cleared her throat. Sometimes they cycle for authorized vehicles. If they were close enough, the deputy's eyes slid to her. He didn't argue, but he wrote something down that felt like a warning. The next part was boring, which felt like a gift. Paperwork. A lecture about restricted access. A promise that a tow could be arranged in the morning because the site was locked down overnight. My wrist got splinted by an EMT who arrived with the deputy Tanya Rourke, 33, female, and told me gently that I'd strained it badly and needed imaging to rule out a fracture. When we finally drove out, Marla insisted we ride with the deputy back to the nearest main road. It was near midnight. The rain had eased into a mist. Highway lights looked too bright, too ordinary. In the back seat of the deputy's SUV, Jenna leaned her head against my shoulder. Her voice was small. We left the car, I know, and the GPS, I know. We didn't sleep that night, not really. In the motel outside Bend, with its beige carpet and humming heater, I kept replaying the moment the gate opened, the moment the man's face tightened when he saw the unit. Jenna kept checking her phone like service bars could protect her. In the morning, my phone finally had reception. Notifications poured in. Work emails, a bank text, a weather alert. Ordinary life rushing back in like it had never left. The cabin reservation sat in my inbox, too automated and cheerful. Enjoy your stay. Jenna deleted it without asking. 2 days later, after an urgent care X-ray confirmed no break, just a severe sprain, we drove back to the pawn shop. It was closed. A paper sign was taped inside the glass door. Closed for renovations. No date. No phone number. The place looked emptied out. The display cases gone. The windows bare. Like it had never been there in the first place. Jenna stood beside me on the sidewalk, arms crossed tight. Maybe it moved. Maybe, I said, but the word tasted wrong. That night, weeks later, I'd still wake up to the imagined click of hazard lights, or the dull thunk of a gate closing. Jenna started sleeping with the bedside lamp plugged into an outlet she could reach without getting up. And once, late one evening, when I was alone in the living room and my wrist still ached in cold weather, my phone buzzed with a notification from an app I didn't remember installing. A map icon, no message, no sound, just a single line that vanished as soon as I tapped it. Route updated. Continue. That's it for this nightmare. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to Mia Horror Stories, and turn on notifications. It really helps keep the stories alive. And don't stop here. Dive into another one of our videos and keep the fear going.